been a long time coming, guys. What is going on? And welcome to Stef ABtv. And this is the first video I'm recording for you after we've hit 100,000 subscribers. That means the absolute world to me, and I'll do a separate video specifically on that. But this video, this is about this, the 911 and 992 GT3. And when you look at perfection, if you were to be able to grab perfection, put it in a bottle and sell it, that is it. Now, before you all get excited and jump in the comment section, perfection is subjective and it's in the eye of the person who is calling it perfection. In this case, me. I've driven a lot of the 992 generation Porsches. I've driven the base spec, I've driven the GTS, I took that to Switzerland, and finally I'm getting my hands on this, the 911 GT3 in terms of 992 form. In terms of its styling, in terms of its angles, this car for me is absolute perfection. Now, I know that people have said over the years that the 911s just keep getting bigger and bigger. But for me, this car just looks perfect from basically every single angle. And, you know, I don't really have anything bad to say about the way the 911 GT3 looks. So before we take this for a bit of a drive, if you don't know and you've been living under a rock, let me talk to you a little bit about what you get from this absolute beast, this beautiful thing. So the 911 992, it runs a flat 6 4-litre engine, naturally aspirated, producing 510 brake horsepower, and it will give you that peak power at 8,400 RPM. It also has 470 newton meters of torque. It runs the brilliant 7-speed PDK box, and it'll do 0 to 62 miles per hour in only 3.4 seconds. And if you've got the minerals, you'll be able to take this all the way up to 198 miles per hour top speed. So in terms of the pricing on the GT3, well, look, list price base, you know, real base model, you'll pay £127,000 for one. But this one costs £153,000. Now, of course, this is if you can even get your hands on them, because of course all of these are going out on the second-hand market over list price. But the reason why this has got almost 25 grand's worth of options is based on the following. Well, the first one is, of course, the carbon ceramics. As I said, they're a £6,500 optional extra, but if you care for them, in theory they should last the life of the car, unless you are absolutely spanking it out on a track. The other big cost comes in with these things, the bucket seats. They're £3,700, and as you can see, they are all carbon fiber. They do look very, very nice. They look better than they are in terms of their comfort. I'm personally not the greatest fan of these in terms of comfort, but I can see why you'd want them if you are if you're driving this on a track, basically. But yeah, they look amazing. Personally, personal preference, I would prefer the comfort seats. Now, the other bit that you're paying for is the matrix LEDs. So this does have the £2,500 option matrix LED headlights. They are incredible. They are extremely bright, which is awesome. And also we're paying £2,500 for the carbon roof. And finally, which is probably quite an important option if you live near speed bumps, we're also paying £2,200 for this, and that is the nose lift. Now, taking a quick look at the interior before we set off on a quick drive, you wouldn't be surprised if I tell you that this is an incredible place to be. It's just so nice. The steering wheel on the 992, I mean, just all Porsches is perfectly sized. It's just amazing. The way this feels to drive, I'll touch on that when we get going. You can see the kind of 5 instrument clusters there with the analog rev counter, and of course the 9,000 RPM rev limit, which is where all the magic happens. This is a PDK, so we do get the PDK gearbox. We get a cup holder here, plenty of carbon. As I said, the nose lift is here, PASM adaptive suspension, all the fun bits here, lots of carbon, and yeah, as a whole, this thing is just stunning. You can see we've got the roll cage in here. Beautiful, beautiful car. There was a reason I specifically waited to get hold of this car, because I wanted it to be a real celebratory moment for me personally. 100,000 is a huge amount of people, and you guys made this happen, so thank you. But I had a real moment at 50,000 with the Giulia GT3. This is the dream. This is perfection, in my opinion. So we're on a British B road. Let me show you what it's really like to drive a 992 on Cup 2s in greasy conditions on a B road, and listen out for that 9,000 RPM. Wow. That's it right there, isn't it? That's why you buy a GT3. There's is a small window between 8,000 and 9,000 RPM. It's just magic. Listen to it. Oh my word. Carbon ceramics, really good. The Cup 2s are pretty warm, which is good. I've been driving for about an hour to get to this point. Although it's still slippery out there. But my word, does this GT3 feel rewarding. That is what is so beautiful and perfect about this car, is the fact that it's naturally aspirated and it gives you so much joy. Are there faster cars out there? Of course there are. Are there cars that will give you this kind of sensation? I'm not so sure. I've driven many cars, none of which have given me the feeling that this GT3 does. It is just majestic. Now, that aside, it's a masterpiece. I mean, this is a supercar, and this car Porsche are like, yeah, just bring it to us every 12,000 miles or 2 years. You know, the fact that you can redline the hell out of this, get it to 9,000 and take it to Porsche for a service every 12,000 or 2 years, it's insane. I could do that all day long. Now, in terms of how it feels to drive, look, the steering is probably the best steering I have ever experienced. I've always raved about Alfa Romeo steering being direct and engaging. This is just sensational. It's so direct, it's so point and shoot. That front end, the nose of this GT3, just anywhere you point it, it just adapts and it takes it. You get so much front end grip in this thing. And bear in mind that this is a rear engine car, so the front end of these cars are pretty light. This is 150 grand's worth of car and I do not want to bend it. In fact, we're going to spin her around because this road looks absolutely hideous. Now I've just got grease all over the Cup 2s. Stick her into sport. Honestly, I can't say better things about this car, honestly. Now, the suspension, let's talk about some of the more real world things. But look, I've got to be really clear. If you're buying a GT3 to hit the track with, you will love this, love it. If you're like me and you're more of a, you know, I don't really like track driving. I prefer to have a really high performance car for the road. This will be a little bit of a challenge sometimes. It's quite stiff in its suspension. It also, because of the way the geometry is set up, because of the way kind of the suspension's all done, any undulations in the road, you will feel it, and it does kind of try to tramline a little bit. And obviously that, coupled with how direct the steering is, you really need to have your wits about you. The other thing with the car as well is it's quite noisy in here, as you'd expect. I've got a 4-litre flat 6 behind me, but there isn't that much sound deadening in the car. But you don't care. You don't care, because once you hit that 9,000 RPM, irrelevant of any little quirks that this car could have, which are not many, they all disappear. They all disappear. The PDK gearbox, sensational. Absolutely sensational. The carbon ceramics, brilliant. You do have to you have to really push down on the ceramics though. They're not, you know, they're not kind of like your traditional sense of car. You have to plant your foot to the floor. Whoa, there she goes. It is just one of the most rewarding cars I have ever driven. And I genuinely mean that. And when I personally say this is perfection, like I said, it's subjective. You might think differently, but for me, this is the dream. This is, if I could have any car ever, it's gonna be this, a 992 GT3. I mean, to be fair, I'd have a 991, to be honest, but for the sake of the video, I honestly think this is just marvelous. Incredible. Honestly, I'm actually quite surprised that the Cup 2s are gripping, but I do have an awful lot of aero as well, that huge swan neck, and whilst it looks sensational, I'm sure it does a phenomenal job out on the track. Arguably won't feel it as much on the road, but what it does do, it creates a bit of a kind of negative blind spot. I can't really see anything out the back, I can't really see what's going on, but thankfully visibility around the 992 is pretty good. It's just like what you'd expect from any 911 car. It's just a wicked thing. Now I'm going to slow it down because I've literally spent the last God knows how long annihilating this thing, but that's the beauty of it, is you can annihilate this and it just rewards you. It's so flipping good. Oh my God, it's so good. If you just wanted to poodle around in this thing, look, stick it into normal mode and it kind of does a really good job. It kind of goes through the gears pretty quickly. The PDK box does a really good job at not holding the revs. Like I said, suspension's a bit bumpy, a lot of road noise comes in here, but you can easily daily this car, should you choose to, of course. But that's not what this is about, is it? This is about you getting into one of these and going for a weekend drive. It's your toy, it's your special car, and oh, my word, it is absolutely sensational. It's sensational. In terms of a launch, could I launch this? I'm not really sure. Let's try. Wheel spin. Oh my God, it's an animal. It's an absolute animal. On a dry day, on a day where you're not on Cup 2s, when it's greasy, this will hook up and this will go. As I said, 3.4 to 62 is insanely good. But even on a day like today, where, if I'm honest with you, the car can give much more than I ever could. This car has got more minerals than I ever will, but what it does deliver is just pure enjoyment. The symphony of this bit there. Oh my word, it's worth every flipping penny. Oh, the emotion, the connection I've got with the car, the seating position, the steering feel. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. And it's also quite sad as well, because no matter what car I will now drive, I think it will always sit in the shadow for me of the 992 GT3. This is the poster car for me. This is the dream for me. I would love to one day be able to afford one of these. I mean, look at this front end, just beautiful, beautiful. Hug and go, and off you go on the power. Back end slipping out there. Oh my God, this is just sensational. And slow it down here into a 30. If you have one of these, you're extremely lucky, and I'm sure you worked hard for it. If you've got the chance to drive one of these like I just have, it's bucket list stuff. And if you've never ever driven one or experienced one of these, you've got to try and at least go out in one, passenger ride, do something, experience a 911 GT3 RPM at 9,000, because there's nothing better.